But I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I certainly want to thank those who have cooked our hot dogs. Carolyn and Tom, where are y'all at? Maybe they're still, okay, they're back there in the back. Thank you so much.
I'm bringing the last ones in.
Oh, yes. But, you know, it's hot and it's humid. It's the end of July going into August, and it's about to get hot, really, really hot on the campaign trail. Probably late August, early September. It may come even sooner than that. But, you know, this is a critical time, a critical juncture in our country's history. About 17, 18 years ago, I was in a program over in Prague, the Czech Republic. There were 60 of us. Some of you have heard this story before, but I keep going back to it because it is so embedded in my mind how great and how instrumental this country is for the future of the world and what we've done for the rest of the world. But that summer, there were 10 of us from America, 50 students from the former communist bloc. They lived their entire lives under tyranny. And I think about that, and I think about the election of 2012. We have a real choice here. Do we put America back on the footing to become the greatest nation on earth? Or do we become just another socialist European-style state, blended in with everybody else? You know, that's the fundamental question that we face in 2012. Are we going to remain great? Or are we going to be more and more subjected to the government, taking more money and more folks on the government dole? I don't know if you saw just the other week, or last week I think it was, more Americans are now on poverty than ever before. You have to go back to the 1960s. And of course in the 1960s they had the great solution to all social problems called the Great Society. And of course if you go back and you track the families that were stuck in poverty then, those families are still in poverty. Now we got even more poverty. You know, government is not the answer. The government's the problem. And, you know, Ronald Reagan said that probably as eloquently as anybody's ever said it. You know, the government's the problem, not the answer. And so this election, you know, we have a choice. Are we going to move back towards the principles of free enterprise and limited government? And let me tell you right now, I got no qualms with cutting the federal budget. I've got no qualms with going after various departments in the federal government. And if you think that I might have some hesitation about it, just ask the folks at Diener and other places in state government. Tom Goolsby, I see that he's here with his wife. Appreciate y'all coming by. Tom knows firsthand, and y'all know Tom pretty well, I know, that we did shrink the size of state government. And you know, there were a lot of folks that hollered and crowed about it and said, oh, how horrible is this going to be? But the taxpayer out there, the average citizen out there, they're not missing anything. In fact, we're reforming government at the state level to work for the people. And that's what we've got to do with the federal government in Washington. If we can do just a quarter of the things in Washington that we've done at the state level, we can turn this country around very, very quickly. You know, I think about the $16 trillion debt that we have. What a burden that's going to be to our children and grandchildren. You know, one of the great distinctions in this race, Mike McIntyre has been running for 16 years. We've got a $16 trillion debt. I've served in the state Senate 2 terms, and we've got 2 balanced budgets without raising taxes. That's a pretty stark comparison. He also leases 3 vehicles. One of 2 members of Congress that leases 3 vehicles. I'm not sure what he's leasing all the vehicles for. I can understand 1. I don't know about 3. And all the trips overseas. That's a lot of taxpayer money. In addition to that, the vote for the stimulus package. You know, the stimulus package was nothing more than just taking all the government programs out there and funneling just as much money down that government pipe as you can. It'd been different perhaps maybe if they put it all into roads and bridges and, you know, where you could actually see things that are geared towards the infrastructure. But that's not what it was about. It was about all those members of Congress who'd never been able to get their pet project funded. All of a sudden they found a vehicle. And they just stuck it on there and called it the stimulus. And that's why this economy is still in the tank. You got Dodd-Frank, you've got all these rules and regulations in place. You got so many rules and regulations in place today that if we were to go back to 1950, if you go back in time to 1950 and put all these rules and regulations in place, we'd be a third-rate nation. That's just the bottom line, that's just the fundamental truth. And that's why at the state level I led the charge for regulatory reform. And that's going to be something I'm going to focus on in Washington. The federal government and the rules and regulations are hurting small families, family farmers, businesses of all types and stripes. We got to get rid of it. We need rules of the road, but we don't need a stop sign or a stoplight every 10 feet. And that's basically what we have today with the rules and regulations that we have in place. Everybody needs to know that there's rules of the game, and everybody needs to follow those rules of the game, and we need to adhere to the rule of law. Unlike our president, who just signs executive orders and circumvents the U.S. Constitution. We have a real crisis on our hands, so 2012 is absolutely critical. Mitt Romney has got to win North Carolina. And so I appreciate all y'all coming out tonight, not just for me, but I know you're going to be working for Mitt Romney. I know you're going to be working for Pat McCrory. I know you're going to be working for this campaign, and that's going to be critical because I anticipate this race is going to be widely publicized, wild exaggerations on TV, perhaps. I expect. Most tight races, have a lot of negative campaigning. So, and I'm sure, if McIntyre's internal polls are anywhere close to my internal polls, they're going to be coming after me pretty strong, pretty fast. But you know what? We got a lot of room to grow. Most folks know who Mike McIntyre is. They're still learning who we are. And so I appreciate your help and your advocacy in that regard, because it's going to be absolutely critical in winning the election this fall. So with that, let me close and just say I appreciate your commitment, but even more than that, I appreciate your concern and care for this country, because if you weren't concerned about the country, if you didn't care about the future of this country, you wouldn't be involved in politics at all. And that's one of the challenges that we have today, is so many of our neighbors and others are out there and they think everything's, just going to be here forever. We're always going to have the freedom that we've had today. We're always going to have the opportunities to excel and to achieve and to create wealth and send our kids to the universities that we want to send them to and give them the hope and opportunity that we desire for them. But you can't do that when a government as intrusive as what we have today. An economy can't grow with the government that we have in place today. An economy certainly can't grow when you have a president that says that he built your business. You didn't build your business. Somebody else built your business that allowed you to get to where you are.
Can I have that sweat box?
That shows a fundamental difference, a fundamental distinction between what they believe and what we believe and what we know is right and true and accurate. Each of you, each individual out there running a business that's working day and night, all that sweat equity, that's what makes it different. And yeah, there are a lot of folks that have helped all of us all along the way. But we also, the reason why we were helped all along the way is because we were willing to show that we were willing to work for ourselves and willing to do everything we could to make things successful. And so it all starts with the individual. You get more of what you subsidize and less of what you tax. If there's any one principle that guides every vote that I'll ever cast or any of my thoughts and philosophy, it's that. And just think about it a minute. You get more of what you subsidize and you get less of what you tax. Take a look at Obamacare. More than 20 new taxes. Take a look at welfare. You get more of what you subsidize. So that's just a fundamental fact. Appreciate you coming. I appreciate your devotion.